Let's see. All right, well, hello everyone and welcome to Luck of the Wireless with Aruba and VPLS. And I'm Natasha, I'm with VPLS, and we also have Chris and Mark from VPLS, and our Aruba Central experts are Stephen and Rob. And I'm glad that all of you guys could join us here this afternoon for the St. Patrick's Day pregame. Just kidding. But we'll start off by giving Stephen the floor, and he's going to inform us all about Aruba Central. And afterwards, you're all welcome to hop on camera, and Mike is going to be our beer guide for that remainder of the afternoon. So you guys also, sorry about that. Everyone's welcome to crack open their beers during the presentation, or if you'd rather wait until afterwards, that's fine too. So it's whatever you feel most comfortable with. And Stephen, whenever you're ready, I will give you the floor.
Welcome, everybody.
Do you want to take people through the quick pouring of the green beer?
Actually, yeah, Mike, if you want to go ahead and do that, you're probably better.
Okay, so you just take your glass. We've got our green food coloring. Just a couple of drops, not too many. 1, 2. Oh, I did a little extra there. And you can use the Los Locos Mexican lager or the IPA. Either one will work. And you just take your glass, hold it at a 45-degree angle, pour your beer in there, and it gets about halfway full. You turn it up right, and then we got a nice, we got a beautiful shiny green beer there. Perfect.
Amazing.
And now I'll turn it back over to Stephen. Thank you.
Okay, hang on. I am just sharing to Ring Central. Sorry, guys.
Sriracha.
Woo, look at that.
Yeah. How's it going? I'm Stephen, and I'll be stopping this Irish accent right here. Okay, so enough of the Irish accent. Welcome to Luck of the Wireless. Little divergence from Luck of the Irish, but we got the beer, and it's St. Patrick's Day, and we're going to have a look at what we can do with Aruba and wireless and switches and gateways and Central, which is our cloud platform. So I'm going to take you through a few slides, and then we'll have a quick look at Central in all its glory. So we're going to talk about edge services today. It's just because that seems to be the major challenge that we hear from most of our customers, is actually getting our hands around everything that's coming on to our networks at the edge. We've gone through that mobility era of trying to get everybody's smartphones and tablets on there. And then we went through, and we're still going through, being able to direct traffic and communications out to the cloud when it leaves our premises or our networks. But the next one that we're having to deal with, of course, is all these IoT devices and all of the, there's like 55 billion devices coming online in the next 2 years. Over 50% of all data is going to be created at the edge, and it's got to go somewhere. We've got to move it around, and we've got to secure those devices and users. So with that many devices and users coming on, and that much traffic and that much data, how are we going to do that? Has been a question that has been posed to us many, many times. Our answer is this edge services platform. And what we've actually done is put it all together, and we've made these kind of layers, 3 layers. There's the connection layer down here at the bottom left. Let me just make that into a pointer instead, because it's easier to see. Yeah, so we've got this kind of connection layer down here. And what we've done is we've kind of extrapolated or virtualized away from each of the technologies and just made it one layer. So we've got the wireless, the wired. SD-WAN is a bit of an anomaly. I mean, it doesn't have to be a WAN. It could just be routing, anything that's routed, or maybe connectivity between sites of any kind you want. That's all part of that connection layer. Some of those devices are going to be using 5G to actually get onto the networks. And if they're using 5G, then we want to manage those in the same way with the same tools. IoT, some of those have proprietary protocols. So that's in there too. So that's the kind of connection layer that we have down the bottom here. And then layering on top of this, we can protect it with policies. So the policies will go across all of these connections, all of this connection layer. So we've got all these users up here, and they could be in their kitchen working, or they could be in a branch, could be some services coming from the cloud perhaps, or maybe they're walking around a campus, or they're a server in a data center. Doesn't really matter where that traffic is going from and to, we're treating it all the same. When users or devices join the network, they get the same network access, regardless of whether they're coming in on a wireless connection, or whether they're coming across a routed network of some kind, across a WAN perhaps, or even if they're coming over an IoT protocol. Doesn't really matter. Now, in order for us to actually be able to do that, we have to have visibility into what the device is and who the user is. And then we can take in some extra context as well. So, at certain times of the day, maybe we want this kind of access, or other times of the day, maybe we want different kinds of access. Or maybe we want to take in some of our threat management information and use that to make decisions on what kind of access these devices or users and devices have. We authenticate it through once we know what's coming onto the network, and that means we can give it the exact right policy for what they need to do. And that's a policy, that's a security policy. It goes across however these devices and users, whatever it is coming online. So we enforce that policy, and then because we know what's coming on and we authenticate against it, we have this zero trust model where we're actually saying, okay, we're not going to let anyone on until we actually know what it is and what it wants to do, and put it into that box and segregate it out as needs be. We can also take in that SASE kind of architecture, which is putting that extra kind of layer of corporate security if needs be, and pushing the traffic through a third-party security portal if that's what you want to do. And on the top layer here, so we've got the connectivity, we've got this protection layer, and then this top layer is really something called Aruba Central. That's really what's driving most of this. So this is up in the cloud. So lots of things that happen, we found it's a lot more, let me think. It's a lot easier to do it in the cloud. We have a lot more compute up in the cloud. We can do comparisons across different kinds of environments. We don't have to have a dedicated server to do things. We can make comparison versus other events and other anomalies to get the right information and get the right configurations. And so the analyze and act, the onboarding of all these devices, the provisioning of them out, can all be automated using Aruba Central. So what we can do is basically scan a barcode in and stick it up on the wall or on the ceiling, and then that access point or that switch or that gateway, whatever you're putting up, will then go to Central, pull down its configuration, and then join your network as part of that network's group. It'll get the settings and it'll just work with the rest of the stuff. So there's a lot of orchestration that needs to be in there, and that orchestration includes things like making tunnels between devices, or routing decisions, or pushing down configurations, or pushing down firmware. All of that can be automated in more of a policy style way using Aruba Central, rather than somebody kind of clacking away trying to configure everything one by one. Another advantage of putting things in cloud is the compute power, as I said, and we can do a lot of analytics around that. And that's a big push for us, because we're really trying to push more and more onto automation around keeping those networks in tip-top condition. So keeping the performance up to scratch, making configuration changes on the fly without any kind of manual intervention, or with manual intervention, depending on how you want to do it. So that's really the goal here. Edge Services Platform is what we are saying will actually help us get through the onslaught of these IoT and 5G service devices and users. And to do that, really, we rely on some hardware, of course, to get people onto the network. And this is the wireless side, of course. So we have access points for really every occasion, whether it's outside, inside, hazardous areas, dusty areas, even a hospitality AP that sits on the desk and has ports that you can plug in. And all you're doing with those is you're extending your corporate network to wherever you put these. They can all be part of the same corporate network, even if it's in Joe Schmo's living room. They can use their corporate laptop and get to corporate resources log onto the corporate network as if they're in the office. So you can see that things are kind of coming together a little bit, consolidating. The experience for the user, the experience for the employees, contractors, whatever it may be, is all going to be very similar, regardless of where they come in from. But to do that, we use this kind of AP as the hardware to get it on wirelessly, switches for all of the wired connectivity that we need. We use one operating system from right at the edge, connecting those APs together, or maybe some servers or some desktops or laptops even, all the way back to the data center. So you can see everything working all the way from a client coming on to the connectivity coming all the way through to the data center and back. And that's pretty powerful. So it's one operating model, one operating system, and our portfolio really seems to be filling all of the gaps or all of the use cases that we're hearing about as we go forward and start talking through with customers. I'll skip this one, sorry, I'm just in the interest of time here. So Central kind of consolidates all of the connectivity here, whether it's the access points, the switches, or the actual security policy, or the gateways connecting different sites with different sites. I did mention that AI is particularly important to us, which is the analytics side of what we're doing. If we have everything in the same place, if we have everything giving us data in the same kind of format, we're able to crunch those numbers. We're able to actually put everything together and understand exactly what's going on because we've got like-for-like data, regardless of whether it's a switch, an AP, a user, we can see all of that. And what we've been doing with AI Ops is we've been building in these scenarios that we've had to troubleshoot on behalf of our customers. So this is one that I'm going to talk about here, which is the users have just been complaining that the Wi-Fi experience is poor. And that's not unusual. That's what users do, right? If something's not working properly, but it doesn't really help the network team diagnose what's going on. Well, what actually was going on, and this was at an electronics retail store, many of them, a national chain. All of the devices, when they were coming into the store or near the store, were joining this 2.4 gigahertz network. And it was slowing everything down, and everything was joining this 2.4, and there were very few clients coming onto the better performing 5 gigahertz network. So what we could actually do with this was we manually had to go in there and analyze all of these logs, and that it took us a long time. I mean, it took us, and we're the vendor, right? It took us a long time to wade through all of these tests. We had to look at the logs and look at the packet captures. We had to look at what's actually connecting. Can these client devices actually do 5 gigahertz, or maybe it's just a 2.4 gigahertz client? And then we had to kind of guess what settings needed to be changed and the power settings that needed to be tweaked in order for us to get the right balance. And we had to make no mistakes because this was all live traffic. This was all in stores. We couldn't afford to make any mistakes. It took us a long time. Now, that's great. We got to the bottom of the issue. But what's even better is that we've been able to code it into what we have in Central. So Central will do all of the pulling of the logs. Central will look at the telemetry coming from the clients. Central will make a note of whether that client can do 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. It'll put it all together, and then it will actually give a recommendation as to what power setting it needs to be changed to. And once it changes, and once it gets changed over, then it'll be able to get to the same result as we had just now by doing it manually. And that is all of the clients that would move over to the 5 gigahertz network. And on the back of this, you're going to see an uptick in bandwidth, better performance, et cetera, So it's a lot of extra work. It's not something we can't do, but it's a lot of extra work that you typically have to have the right skill set to do. And that's what we've baked in with AI operations. Other things that we do with AI is things like improving the resiliency of the APs around the floor so that if a switch goes down and the switch is servicing all the APs in this area, you're not going to have a black spot of no signal. So it will actually do that analysis for us and then give us clear direction on which APs need to change to which switch in order for us to get better resiliency and kind of salt and pepper the access points throughout our environment. So it's not something we can't do, but it's definitely something that's time consuming and to keep a track of is very difficult, without tracing a lot of wires and going back and forth. Now, what we're really trying to get to here is we're trying to get to a self-healing workflow, which is, sure, we can do it manually, but really we're trying to automate a lot of this. Let me show you what it looks like actually in Central. So let me get out of this one. And we'll have a look here. So this is the Central dashboard here. So you can see that here we've got 5 sites, here we've got 2 sites, and I can drill into these. But more importantly, let's have a look at the actual devices that Central is managing here. And we can see that it's managing access points, switches, and we can configure all of these or make automatic configuration kind of templates if we want to, and gateways. We can manage those too. So we can manage all of our devices under that one screen. Interestingly, what we can also see from Central is we can see all of these different clients, regardless of how they're actually coming onto our network. So we can see all of the wireless clients. We can see all of the wired clients. If you remember back to that first slide where we're just making a connection layer, that's what I'm talking about. If there's remote clients coming in on a VPN connection, maybe a software VPN, that's going to show up here, and we're going to be able to manage them all as one. All of that data will look the same. There's no different screens to look at. There's no different troubleshooting to do. So we have an overview of basically everything that's going on in our environment. And I can click into any of these and then look at exactly what's going on. And this is a Tesla wall connector is the device name. You can see which SSID it's coming in, which AP is servicing that SSID, and where that AP's uplink is going on the switch. On the flip side, our hardware, those APs that I showed you and those switches I showed you, are also making metadata around what that device is doing. And that's all about fingerprinting and making sure that that device is what it says it is, or what it's telegraphing that it is. So here we can see, things like DHCP that we typically use to fingerprint what a device is, but we're also looking at things like, okay, what applications is it using? Which destinations is this device reaching out to? And we have all of these in dictionaries up in the cloud, and we can use machine learning to tick them off and go through this dictionary to find exactly where the match is. On the back of that, we can tag it. We can say devices with this, 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 and this attribute, make a tag. And then that tag can have different access parameters, access control parameters, so that they can only do certain things. And in that way, we've actually got visibility around all of our network, all of our devices, but also we're able to use our security policies to lock it down so that those clients and those clients only get exactly what we want them to get. I was going to show you a summary. I can't seem to get to that. Maybe it's not showing in here. So that's just a quick tour of Central. There's a lot more to it, but we've got beer to drink. So I am going to stop the share right there and hand it over to the Beermeister.
Well, I mean, I can only see Kiefer, but Kiefer, do you have any questions? Since you're the only person I see there. Don't want to glaze past it and assume that you are only here for the beer, since it looked like you were paying paying attention. Any questions for Stephen and team?
Yeah, I guess I have one question on, is that can you pick and choose from your suite of products there? I'm specifically thinking on the, both the IoT and the SD-WAN. Are you a one-stop shop for the entire, from soup to nuts all the way up? Like, we buy a box from you guys, and you guys are going to manage every piece of putting customers on those particular services?
So we do have an as a service model, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, that's a little bit of a different offering, but we do have an as a service model. It's not an all or nothing. So I think what you're getting at is, do you need to buy the whole lot, or can I just have some parts of this and make it work? Is that what you're
correct?
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's not an all or nothing. So you can start with just wireless, or you can start with just switches, or just the SD-WAN part, and you can have Aruba Central or not Aruba Central. You can have this protection layer, all of this, and we have some very large customers that use this protection layer, but they don't have any of the Aruba underlying hardware, for example.
That's exactly what I was asking. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
So you can pick and choose to an extent. Okay. I don't want to say you can pick and choose absolutely any parts of this, but you can pick and choose across this, and then have different parts of it and kind of phase it in.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And Keith, if you need more information on the back end, I'll send we'll be available to you. And if you need PDFs, white papers, or, conversation, that's obviously available as well. Instead of putting you on the spot, we could do that after our beer drinking.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Send me your email contact after this, and I'll
yeah, absolutely.
I'll reach out to you.
Awesome.
Now to the beer, right?
I just want to protect my team. I'm like the muscle, right? They're the smart guys. I make sure everybody, make sure there are any questions, or if anybody messing with the mind share, I take care of things, So, but yeah, I just all jokes aside, I just want to make sure, a lot of times we assume everybody's here for the beer, right? And you don't want to push too hard. So I'm the guy that's just make sure that that you're not sitting there and you have a question and is right now the time to ask. Please feel comfortable. And these guys are having this conversation all the time. They're going to answer it in their sleep, and with one hand doing this and one hand answering. So if you have questions while we're drinking, just don't be shy. I'm sure Mike won't mind to hear more about this awesome technology, huh? All right, I'm done. I just wanted to make sure everybody's comfortable. It's a small group. Don't be shy. I will be sure to say a lot of dumb stuff so that you won't. Okay, anyways, Mike, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. All right, very good. Natasha, is there a way to see everybody, or is it just...
Yeah, if whoever is down to have their cameras on, you're definitely welcome to. And then Mike, you should be able to see everyone. Yeah, there you go.
And then gallery view option, or
it should be on your right, on your top right, at least it is on my end, and it says view, and it has like little those what shape is that? Squares.
Okay.
I think tiles is the words he's looking for.
Yes, tiles.
I would have not known. Thank you, Ron, for stepping in there.
Yeah, no, I don't. I guess I don't have that.
And I'm not trying to ditch you. I just can't get my camera to work.
No, that's appreciate it.
Well, welcome everyone to your beer and cheese pairing event. My name is Mike. I'm here in New York City, and I'm a part-time beer tender, and I'm also a full-time beer enthusiast. And happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope we're enjoying our green beer. Did we get a nice green color of that beer? That's what we do a beer assessment. It looks green. It looks very green. So what we're going to do, we want to do a beer assessment, and hopefully we'll have time for a cheese assessment. We're going to do some beer and cheese pairing. First, I want to talk to you about what you have in your boxes. We got great beers today. You should already be enjoying the Los Locos Mexican style lager from Epic Brewing. It's evokes tropical memories of being on the Mexican beach, and it also has it's flavored with sea salt and a splash of lime. Anybody pick up the lime in that? Mexican lager?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
that was good. It was good.
Really good.
Nice light drinking. And of course, as any Mexican lager, this comes to us from Utah.
Okay.
Obviously.
Clearly.
We also have the we'll go across the country to Cincinnati, Ohio, where we have our Holidays IPA. It's from Mad Tree Brewing Company. It's kind of made for the holidays, made with 4 different hop varieties, and then also spruce tips are added to the brew. So when you try it, you might get some pine and citrus notes, but also I tend to get a little bit of a smoky note, little woody note in there from those spruce tips. And they've also planted lots of trees for all the beers they brew. They planted more than 2,000 trees in 2020, and all their spent grain is sent to feed local cows. So they're doing good stuff over there in Cincinnati. And then our third beer is our Irish beer of the day. Oh yes, this one's a beauty. We've got the Life of the Paddy. I don't know if that's if they're trying to say it's like if you're from Boston, the Life of the Paddy.
Paddy.
We would say Life of the Paddy, not Paddy.
How grandiose is this beer? Look at this. This is beautiful. I'm sure you all have it, but this is awesome.
It is gorgeous.
It's a nice Irish stout. It's very light too, so you could drink this all day. Black body with a nice tan head and sort of malty, roasty taste, a little bit of coffee there. So nice beers for sure. And then we got great cheeses too. They come to us from a place called Vermont Farmstead. That is in Windsor, Vermont. And so we have the Governor's Cheddar cheese. That's a really nice sharp cheddar. It's got some honey and butter tones there, but it's made with, in the aging process, it develops these things called tyrosine crystals. And that's where it gets its sharpness from. So you're going to detect a little sharpness in there, and maybe even the crystals themselves are very subtle. A little crispiness possibly you find in there, but really a delicious cheese. It's going to go really well with our IPA. And also we have where's my notes? We have I don't need notes. I know what we have. We have we have the Tilsit. This is called the Brickhouse Tilsit cheese. This is a real smooth, semi-soft cheese. It's sort of originally based on the idea of a Gouda cheese. And what happened was Danish immigrants moved to a place in Prussia called Tilsit, and they ended up inventing a cheese. It's very smooth and easy drinking. Easy drinking. You drink it; it's so smooth, and it's going to go really nicely with our Mexican lager. And also save a little bit of that to make a nice grilled cheese later on, because that's a really nice melting cheese as well. And our third cheese is a fan favorite. This is the Maple Sriracha Winsordale. Now, the Winsordale is based on an English cheese called the Wensleydale. If you ever watch any of the Wallace and Gromit movies, you know that the moon is made out of Wensleydale cheese. And so you don't have to be made out of clay, though. It works really well for carbon-based humans. So that's a nice cheese. And it's not only this raw milk cheese. It's based on it's a cheddar cheese, essentially. But it's made with maple syrup and Thai chili sauce. So it's got the little bit of sweetness and a little bit of spiciness. And that's going to go nicely with our stout. But really, that cheese goes with everything. So you can really enjoy that. There you go. Cheeses, beers. So I got a question for the group. What this is usually a stumper. What is a beer?
Something that makes me feel good and not as nervous.
Okay, yeah, makes a person less nervous. Well, that would probably be the fermented part, right? That's the so it's a fermented beverage. Liquid bread. That's a good way to look at it too. It's made with grains, right? And if we go back to ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, they were making a type of bread, also a type of beer. As far back as 13,000 years ago, they were making beer, and that was a grain beverage that they would make from whatever grain they could find, rye or spelt or wheat or barley, whatever they had. And it was a rather simple beer. So let's fast forward in time. We go to the year 1516 in a place called Bavaria. And Bavaria is now part of Germany. At the time, it was part of the Holy Roman Empire, but they called it the Kingdom of Bavaria. And in Bavaria, they laid down the law about beer. And that was called the Reinheitsgebot. If you've ever heard of the Reinheitsgebot.
What's that?
That is a series of laws about beer, how much you could charge for it, what you could put in it. And really, the beer purity law was made to save you from dying or getting sick. They didn't want bad ingredients in your beer. So they made the beer purity law. And the German beer purity law went even further. They said your beer could only be made with 3 ingredients. Okay, so what are these ingredients? One of them is really easy. Hops, I heard. There we go.
Barley.
Barley.
There we go. Malted barley. That's right. Had to be barley, not wheat, not any kind of other grain. Had to be barley. And we still didn't say the easy ingredient.
Water.
What? I thought
that's it. Water.
What was it?
That's right.
No.
Oh, we got to hear right.
Water?
You need water, malted barley, and hops, right? Now, there's an ingredient missing there, though. It's a 4th ingredient that was not on the list. Anybody?
Yeast? No.
Yeast.
Hey, there we go. That's right. Yeast.
Yeah, I was gonna
At
say
the
yeast, or I was like, is that actually just specifically for bread? I was
Yeah, you need it for both. Yeah. And the yeast, at the time, they didn't have a word for it. You know, it was just something that happened. It was called, they used open air fermentation. So they called it the gift of the angels. And that's why monks were doing a lot of the brewing, because this was God's work, making this magic
Okay.
elixir happen. Right. So that's nowadays we add yeast in, and it's part of the ingredients. By the time they didn't have a name for it. There you go, a little beer history for you. So we should do a beer appraisal. If anybody wants to open a new beer, how do we do with that Mexican lager? It's a quick one. Has anyone moved on to a second beer?
No, that was pretty limey.
Pretty
It's
limey.
Mm.
I'll say this much.
No pun
Because
intended.
I feel like people are always going to be a little shy. This beer, the Mexican lager was very light. Reminded me of the Souls, the Coronas. You know, obviously similar, lighter than IPA, which is what I'm drinking these days, and you can tell.